Hey guys, so as you can probably tell from my voice, I am definitely a little sick, so yeah, forgive me for that. But anyway, 2025 is coming to a close, and this has been probably one of, if not the most successful years for the channel ever, really. Not only did we pass 5,000 subscribers, but we also passed 6,000, 7,000, and as of recording this, 8,000 subscribers. That's really nuts. While I know a lot of this is definitely because I was actually uploading this year, I definitely think that another big factor in why we did so well this year was my decision to start making shorts. And yeah, I think that decision really paid off. So I wanted to go ahead and compile every single YouTube short from 2025 into one big-ish video for you guys to look back on everything that we did this year. This is definitely just a little compilation of every short, nothing too new or anything. So just go ahead, sit back, grab some popcorn, and just enjoy. And I can't wait to see you guys next year. Yeah. Bye.
The Legend of Zelda in 60 seconds. Ready, go. The Kingdom of Hyrule was in a period of chaos and everything really sucked. A legend about some magical triangles started floating around among the people, and this pig guy named Ganon wanted to get them to rule the world. Ganon attacked Hyrule with his army and seized the Triforce of Power. To stop the rampaging pig from getting the other 2 pieces, Zelda broke the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 pieces and hid them around the world. She then told her nursemaid, an old woman named Impa, to travel the world and find someone with the courage to beat Ganon. Ganon was like, "Aw, hell no," and committed my 7th favorite felony by kidnapping Zelda. Meanwhile, Impa was getting beat up by some monsters when this guy named Link comes in and saved her. She tells him about Ganon and he's like, "I bet," and goes on a quest to kill him. He ventures through a bunch of dungeons and kills the monsters living in there to get the 8 Triforce pieces, and he uses the full Triforce of Wisdom to find Ganon. He kills the pig, takes the Triforce, saves the girl, and peace finally returns to Hyrule. And that was Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link in 60 seconds. Ready, go. So long before the events of the first game, there was this king who ruled Hyrule using the Triforce, and everything was pretty chill until, King's dead. The prince wants to use the Triforce to rule now that he's king, but wait a second, there's only one piece. Where's the Triforce of Courage and Wisdom? Well, it turns out the king didn't trust his snot-nosed brat with all that power, and hid the rest of the Triforce in different locations, only telling his daughter Zelda. The prince gets a totally not evil wizard to help intimidate Zelda, but the wizard curses Zelda to fall asleep forever and then dies. So the prince decrees that every princess born from then on is named Zelda. Fast forward to after Zelda 1, and Link gets a dope triangle on his hand. Impa shows him where Zelda the First, who isn't actually the first, has been sleeping and tells him that he's got to go to a bunch of palaces and put some crystals in the statues to find the Triforce of Courage. Of course, it's not that easy because Ganon's got some fanboys who want to use Link's blood to bring him back. No, not them. So Link ventures across Hyrule, placing the gems into the statues to access the Great Palace. He goes inside, fights a shadow, gets the Triforce of Courage, and uses the full Triforce to wake the sleeping Zelda, who gives him a big ol' smooch. And that was A Link to the Past, but really fast. Ready, go. So a long time ago, things in Hyrule were pretty chill, until, an evil guy named Ganondorf gets his hands on the Triforce! So the king sends 7 wise men to go and seal Ganondorf, who's now in his persona Ganon, in the Sacred Realm, and everything goes back to normal. Fast forward a bunch of years, and everything sucks, like usual, until this wizard named Aghanim comes along and fixes it. Hooray! But not actually, because he's evil. He kills the king and starts making women disappear, and Zelda's next on the chopping block, so she uses her psychic powers to get the attention of this guy named Link, who wakes up to see his uncle leaving the house. He follows his uncle into the castle, and oh no, his uncle's dead! So Link keeps going, saves Zelda, and takes her to safety, and learns about a 6 sword in the woods. He goes to some dungeons and gets some cool pendants so he can pull out the Master Sword. But Zelda's been kidnapped by Aghanim and she gets disappeared. So Link fights the creepy old wizard, but Aghanim sends him into the Sacred Realm, which has been turned into the Dark World by Ganon's evil. Now in the Dark World, Link has to go through 7 dungeons to rescue the 7 maidens who can help him break the barrier around Ganon's tower and stop him from invading the Light World. He goes inside and finds Aghanim, who turns out to have been Ganon in disguise. He flees to the Pyramid of Power and Link faces off with the pig. He emerges victorious, wishes on the Triforce, and everyone who died gets better. Hooray! And that was Link's Awakening in 60 seconds. Ready, go. After the events of A Link to the Past, Link decides to sail overseas to hone his sword skills. As he's sailing back to Hyrule, he gets caught in a storm that destroys his raft. He washes up on the shores of a tiny island named Koholint, where he's found by a girl named Marin. After waking up, Link decides to go out and look for a way to return home, and learns that by collecting the 8 instruments of the sirens, he can play a song to wake the Windfish, a creature who's sleeping in the giant egg on top of the island. So he goes around the island, defeating the various Mario enemies and venturing into the dungeons to claim the instruments. He also goes on a date with Marin, where she says she wishes she could be a seagull and fly away from the island. Eventually, Link learns that Koholint Island is actually being dreamt up by the sleeping Windfish, and by waking it, everyone and everything will disappear with the island, including Marin. Regardless, Link continues to collect the instruments, eventually using all 8 to play the Ballad of the Windfish. He goes inside the egg, defeats the source of the nightmares, wakes the Windfish, who spouts some philosophical stuff before Kohola Island disappears forever, taking everyone with it. Link wakes up clinging to the remnants of his raft, watching as the Windfish flies off, and if the game was completed without dying, a seagull is seen flying off, implying that Marin got her wish. And that was Link the Faces of Evil in 60 seconds. Do I really have to do this? Like, I could be doing Ocarina of Time right now. I mean, come on, the people want Ocarina of Time, so why am I doing this? Link is bored because Hyrule's at peace. Suddenly, a wizard guy comes in and says that Ganon's taking over the island of Koridai and his minions have made some big evil faces where they're turning the islanders into monsters. So Link goes to Koridai and starts to mercilessly kill everything that moves, which begs the question of whether these monsters are the people of Koridai, in which case he's more concerned about doing the duck walk.
When I'm crouching, you can make me do the duck walk. Cool, huh?
Eventually, Link learns that in the 5 minutes he was gone, Zelda was kidnapped, so Link goes a-killin' and gets a cool book that a weird little man says is the key to defeating Ganon. He finds the wizard dude's house, gains the ability to find the wizard dude's house, yes, in that order, gets to Ganon's lair, throws the book at him, saves Zelda, and wins.
I won!
Please don't kill me. And that was Ocarina of Time in 60 seconds. Ready? Go. Link has a dream about a scary man on a horse. He gets woken up by a fairy named Navi who tells him to go see the talking tree. He goes inside the tree, kills a bug, and gets a cool rock and is told to go meet Princess Zelda before watching his father figure die. He makes his way to the castle, finds Zelda who tells him about her crab dream and also about a scary man named Ganondorf that's gonna take over Hyrule. He goes and gets 2 more rocks before, Zelda's running away from Ganondorf just like in Link's dream. She chucks the name of the game at him and he uses it to open a door in the Temple of Time where he finds the Master Sword. He pulls the sword, but oh no, it was a trap! Link is woken up by the less cool Rauru who tells him that he's been asleep for 7 years, Ganondorf's taken over Hyrule, and he's gonna go find the other sages to stop him. So Link travels back and forth in time, going through dungeons to find the other sages while being helped by a Sheikah named Sheik. After finding 6 of the sages, he goes back to the Temple of Time and learns that Sheik was Zelda the whole time, but oh no, Ganondorf kidnaps her! So Link breaks into his house, gets a dope triangle on his hand, sets the tennis match, wins the tennis match, and escapes the crumbling tower, but Ganondorf's like,
I didn't hear no fucking bell!
And turns into Ganon. Link stabs the pigs, the sages seal him away, and Zelda sends Link back in time to live out his lost childhood with his best friend there she goes. And that was Majora's Mask in 60 seconds. Ready? Go. After Ocarina of Time, Link goes on a search for Navi when he gets mugged by a mask-wearing weirdo and his fairies. The weirdo, named Skull Kid, steals his horse in the Ocarina of Time, and Link gives chase, ending up in a world called Termina. The Skull Kid, using the powers of the mask, curses Link and turns him into a Deku Scrub before ditching one of his fairies, Toddle. He meets Shigeru Miyamoto and learns that everyone's gonna get mooned in 3 days, and not in the good way. After retrieving his Ocarina, Link returns to normal and uses the Song of Time to relive the same 3 days over and over again to prevent the apocalypse. He gains some powerful masks and trauma from helping the people of Termina and uses them to free the 4 giants being held captive in the temples. After freeing the giants, Link calls to them to hold back the moon, and everyone is saved! But turns out the mask was alive and using Skull Kid as a puppet. It retreats into the moon and Link gives chase. He gives his mask to some creepy moon children, gets the most powerful item in the series besides the Triforce, fights the moonwalking demon, destroys the moon, makes a new friend, and leaves Termina to continue his search for Navi, all while being perfectly alive and healthy. And that was Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, but really fast. Ready? Go. After the events of Link's awakening, Link is summoned by the Triforce because stuff's going down in the lands of Holodrum and Labruna. In Holodrum, Link meets Din, the Oracle of Seasons, who gets captured by this guy named General Onyx. He causes the Temple of Seasons to completely vanish, which makes the seasons go into chaos. So Link has to collect the 8 essences of nature while powering up the Rod of Seasons in the Temple of Seasons, which has been transported to Nehru's hometown of Subrosia. No, not that one. Once he gets all 8 essences, he confronts Onyx, who turns into a dragon, saves Din, and he brings peace to Holodrum. Next, Link goes to Labruna and meets Nehru, the Oracle of Ages. No, not that one. Who gets kidnapped and possessed by a witch named Veron. She travels to the past and starts messing with stuff that screws up the present. So Link has to use the Harp of Ages to travel back and forth in time to find the 8 essences of time, all while trying to defeat Veron. About halfway through, Veron decides to possess the ruler of Labruna, Queen Ambi, in the past to make things worse in the present. So Link gets the essences of time, confronts Veron, frees Queen Ambi, watches Veron turn into my sleep paralysis demon, and saves the day. But we're still not done, because it turns out by defeating both General Onyx and Veron, Link has been playing into the Twin Rova's traps. With the flames of destruction and sorrow now lit, Twin Rova is able to capture Zelda to use as a sacrifice to resurrect Ganon. So Link saves Zelda and fights the witches who decide to sacrifice themselves in order to bring Ganon back to life. But the resurrection was botched and Ganon's now a mindless monster. So Link once again shows down with the pig, emerges victorious, and saves the day. Hooray! And that was The Wind Waker in 60 seconds. Ready? Go. After the hero of time is sent back in time, Hyrule thrives until, Ganondorf returns. The people pray for the hero, but he doesn't show since he technically doesn't exist in this timeline. So the goddesses, in their infinite wisdom, flood the world. A century later, a boy named Link watches his sister get kidnapped by a giant bird. He teams up with some pirates led by a girl named Tetra to save her, but gets tossed into the sea. He's rescued by a talking boat, the King of Red Lions, who gives him the name of the game and tells him to collect some magic pearls. Doing so raises a tower from the sea, allowing Link to find the old Hyrule Castle and the Master Sword. He and Tetra confront Ganondorf, who's been kidnapping blonde girls. Sus! But the sword doesn't work and they get smacked. They're rescued and learn that the boat is actually King Daphne's, the last king of Hyrule, and Tetra is Princess Zelda. To fix the sword, Link finds some new sages and then becomes the hero of wins by reassembling the Triforce of Courage. But uh-oh, Zelda gets kidnapped! Link storms Ganondorf's tower, and King Daphne's uses the Triforce first to flood Hyrule for good. Link and Zelda defeat Ganondorf, sword to forehead, and say goodbye to the old world, sailing off to build a new Hyrule with blackjack and hookshots. And that was The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords in 60 seconds. Ready, go. So a long time ago, there was this guy named Vati who was a menace to Hyrule because he liked to kidnap girls. A bunch of people tried to beat him, but all of them failed, until one day this boy rolled up, split himself into 4 copies, sealed Vati in a sword, and saved the girls. The people called the sword the 4 Sword and built a cool shrine around it in the forest. Many years later, Princess Zelda gets some bad vibes, so she gets her best friend Link to come with her to the 4 Sword Shrine, but uh-oh, turns out the seal on Vati is weakened and he found himself a new bride. Yes, that's literally what the manual says. He kidnaps Zelda and Link pulls out the 4 Sword, splitting into 4 versions of himself. The Grey Fairy saw all this and went, you know, we could help you, but you gotta prove yourself first. So the Links go to 3 dungeons to prove themselves before heading to the Palace of Winds, beating Vati and resealing him inside the 4 Sword. And that was 4 Swords Adventures in 60 seconds. Ready, go. So one night Zelda gets some bad vibes, so she calls on her best friend Link to go and check up on the 4 Sword with her. She calls up 6 maidens to open a portal to the sanctuary, but uh-oh, a dark figure that looks like Link swoops in and kidnaps the maidens and Zelda. He taunts Link into pulling the 4 Sword, and Link unintentionally releases Vati. The Links are woken up by the annoying owl who tells them that Shadow Link is causing chaos, so the Links need to go find the 6 royal jewels to reach the realm of the heavens where Zelda is being held. They also learn that Vati isn't actually the one behind all this, but someone controlling him. They learn about a dark mirror that was being kept in a temple, but someone stole it. When they go to the desert, they find out that a Gerudo named Ganondorf broke customs and went into a pyramid to get a sick trident. So the Links rescue all 6 maidens and then Zelda, who makes a Mario Kart reference for them to get to the Palace of Winds. They fight and defeat Vati, but uh-oh, Ganon comes in and kidnaps Zelda. So the Links show down with the pig, free Zelda, and seal Ganon in the 4 Sword. To make sure nobody ever touches it again, the 6 maidens put up a barrier around the 4 Sword and Link is celebrated as a real hero. And that was the Minish Cap in 60 seconds. Ready, go. When Hyrule was getting attacked, little people called Picori descended from the heavens and gave a guy the Light Force and the Picori Blade, and he sealed all the monsters in a chest. A century later, a festival is being held and Zelda wants to go with her best friend Link. They watch a sword competition where this guy named Vati wins, but uh-oh, he opens the chest and releases monsters onto the world and turns Zelda into stone because he wants to find the Light Force. So Link is tasked by the king to go out and find the Picori to reforge the broken Picori Blade. In the forest, he meets a talking hat named Eslo who gives Link the power to shrink down to the size of a Picori, or Minish. Link meets with the Minish Elder who tells him to imbue the power of the elements into the blade to restore it. It also turns out that Vati was a Minish who wanted power, so he stole a magical hat from his mentor Eslo and turned him into a hat. So Link goes and finds the 4 elements, imbuing them into the sword within a sanctuary hidden in Hyrule Castle to make the 4 Sword. But uh-oh, turns out that the king has been brainwashed by Vati, who now realized that the Light Force was inside Zelda. So Link runs in, Vati turns into a giant monster, Link uses the 4 Sword to seal Vati, rescues Zelda, and brings peace to Hyrule. And that was Twilight Princess in 60 seconds. Oh boy. Link lives in Ordon Village and he's gonna deliver a sword to the castle when, uh-oh, monsters attack and steal the kids. He gives chase, runs into the Twilight, becomes a furry, and wakes up in a cell. He meets an imp named Midna who takes him to meet Zelda, and he learns about this guy named Zan who usurped Midna from the throne of the Twilight Realm and is currently leading the invasion. So he and Midna gotta go get the pieces of the fused shadow to fight him. They get all 3 pieces, but uh-oh, Zan curses Link to be a wolf permanently and almost kills Midna. So Link takes her to Zelda, who tells Link about the Master Sword before sacrificing herself for Midna. They go into the Lost Wood, meet the Skull Kid from Majora's Mask, get the Master Sword, go to the desert prison where they learned that a bunch of years ago Ganondorf was held there after his plot from Ocarina of Time was exposed by the young hero of time. He was set to be executed, but the gods decided to do a little trolling, so Ganondorf survived, killed the guy, and was banished into the Twilight Realm through a sick mirror. So now Link and Midna gotta go get the mirror shards to get into the Twilight Realm. They assemble the mirror, get the Twilight Realm, fight Zant, learn that, surprise, Ganondorf is the real villain. Midna kills Zant, and the duo head to Hyrule Castle to beat up an old man. Link has a tennis match with Zelda, fights a pig, watches his girlfriend die, has a dope sword fight, kills Ganondorf for real, and gets to see Midna's true form. With everything all good, Midna decides that no one should possess the power of the Mirror of Twilight, so she shatters it after running through and separating their world forever. And that was Phantom Hourglass in 60 seconds. Ready, go. After Wind Waker, Link and Tetra chase a ghost ship that's making people disappear. They find it, Tetra hops on board, and uh-oh, she disappears. Link follows, and uh-oh, he disappears. He wakes up on an island, meets a fairy with amnesia named Celia, and an old guy named Ashish. They team up with a greedy sea captain named Linebeck, who's only in it for treasure. To find Tetra, Link dives into the Temple of the Ocean King, using the name of the game to find clues on where the spirits of power, wisdom, and courage are. Turns out that Celia is the spirit of courage, and Bellum, a monster in the temple, stole her memories. And surprise, Ashish is actually the Ocean King. Linebeck wants to bail, but Ashish promises promises him one wish if he sticks it out. Link finds Tetra, but uh-oh, she's a statue now because Bellum drained her of her light. So Link forges the Phantom Sword, dives back into the temple, saves Tetra, but uh-oh, again, Bellum grabs her. Link and Linebeck battle the ghost ship, Tetra saved, Linebeck loses his ship, and then sacrifices himself to get Link the Phantom Sword before being possessed by Bellum. Link defeats Bellumbeck, saves Linebeck, Ashes turns back into a whale, and Linebeck wishes for his ship back. After saying their goodbyes, Link and Tetra wake up on the ghost ship where only 10 minutes have passed in the real world, and it was all just a dream. Or was it? And that was Spirit Tracks in 60 seconds. Ready, go. After Phantom Hourglass, Link and Tetra find a new land and call it New Hyrule, and it's got trains! 100 years later, a new Link is being promoted to Royal Engineer by a new Zelda, but she tells him that she doesn't trust her advisor, Chancellor Cole. So with his mentor Alfonso, Link sneaks her out of the castle on a train, but uh-oh, the Spirit Tracks vanish, their train crashes, and Cole steals Zelda's body. Link wakes up back in Hyrule Castle to find Zelda's now a spirit that only he can see, and she gives him a cool flute. They head to the Tower of Spirits and meet Anjin, a Locomo who tells them they gotta go to the temples to restore the Spirit Tracks with the help of other Locomo and stop a demon named Malladus from reviving. So with a sick new train, they travel to the temples with Zelda possessing suits of armor called Phantoms to help Link. They fix the Spirit Tracks and return to the Tower of Spirits to stop Malladus' revival, but Cole's assistant Burn buys enough time for the ritual to finish. Malladus now has Zelda's body, Burn is betrayed, and Cole and Malladus escape to the Dark Realm on the demon train. With Burn's help, they get the bow and Compass of Light, and Anjin gives Link the Locomo sword. They enter the Dark Realm, have a train fight, Zelda gets her body back, and Burn dies. Malladus takes Cole's body, but Link and Zelda work together to finish him off. Now that the day is saved, Anjin and the rest of the Locomo decide to peace out to the heavens, allowing Burn to revive after a couple years. And that was Skyward Sword, but really fast. Ready, go. Long ago, demons wanted the Triforce, so the goddess Hylia sent humans into the sky and sealed the demons away. Centuries later, people live on Skyloft with giant birds called Loftwings. Link's just a regular guy training to be a knight when, uh-oh, a black tornado sucks his childhood friend Zelda out of the sky. Back on Skyloft, Link pulls the goddess sword and meets Fi, the spirit of the sword. He goes to the surface where he battles monsters, clears temples, and keeps running into Girahim, a flamboyant weirdo who's trying to capture Zelda. But she's being protected by a woman named Impa, who helps her escape through a gate of time before Link can catch her. Link fights a giant sealed monster called the Imprisoned a few times, watches his rival Groose get humbled, and then learns he needs to purify his sword. After finding 3 sacred flames, the goddess sword becomes the Master Sword. With the Master Sword, Link activates a second gate of time to travel back in time. He reunites with Zelda, who reveals that she's the mortal reincarnation of the goddess Hylia. She blesses the Master Sword and tells Link to get the Triforce to destroy the Demon King Demise before sealing herself in a crystal to keep Demise contained. To stop him for good, Link gathers the pieces of the Song of the Hero, enters Skykeep, and uses the Triforce to destroy Demise in the present. Zelda wakes up, but uh-oh, Girahim kidnaps her to revive Demise in the past. Link gives chase and stops Girahim, but Demise is still resurrected. So Link shows down with Demise and emerges victorious, but not before Demise curses him and Zelda to eternally reincarnate alongside an incarnation of his hatred. With her purpose fulfilled, Fi enters a sleep with no end, and Link puts the Master Sword to rest before returning to the present, where he and Zelda decide to remain on the surface. And that was A Link Between Worlds in 60 seconds. Ready, go. Link is a blacksmith's apprentice who is sent to deliver a sword, but uh-oh, a weirdo named Yuga turns someone into a painting and knocks him out. Link wakes up at home to find a new roommate named Ravio, who gives him a strange bracelet. He visits Princess Zelda, gets a pendant, and is told to meet a wise old man. That man's student is missing. Link finds him, but uh-oh, Yuga turns both of them into paintings. But surprise, Link can now merge into walls. Neat! Yuga traps Hyrule Castle on a barrier, so Link collects 2 more pendants, pulls out the Master Sword, and confronts Yuga. Just in time to see Zelda turned into a painting. He chases Yuga through a portal into Lowrule, a dark mirror of Hyrule. Turns out that Yuga's been capturing the descendants of the 7 sages to revive and fuse with Ganon. Link is saved by Lowrule's Princess Hilda, who sends him to rescue the sages and claim the Triforce of Courage. Link succeeds, but uh-oh, Hilda betrays him to steal Hyrule's Triforce. Turns out that Lowrule's Triforce was destroyed and she needs Hyrule's Triforce to save her dying kingdom, but then she gets betrayed by Yuga. Link defeats Ganon, saves Zelda, and rescues the Triforce. Hilda still wants the Triforce, but Ravio, who's actually Lowrule's version of Link, talks her down, and Hilda sends them home. Back in Hyrule, Link and Zelda use their Triforce to wish Lowrule's Triforce back into existence, saving both worlds. And that was Hyrule Warriors in 60 seconds. Ready, go. Screw it, might as well. So there's this lady named Sia, and she keeps the balance of the Triforce, but uh-oh, she gets the horny for Link! Wait, what? Ganondorf sees this and is like,
I can use this.
So he purges Sia's inner light, which becomes a new being named Lana. So now that Sia's evil, she starts opening up time portals to different eras to amass an army. Back in Hyrule, Link is defending the castle when he learns that he has the Triforce of Courage. But uh-oh, Zelda's missing. But don't worry, Sheik's here and she's got the Triforce of Wisdom. Wait, no, never mind, Sia's got the Triforce. So she uses it to open portals to find the fragments of Ganondorf's soul, but that also brings in heroes from those eras, like Darunia, Fi, Midna, and Agatha? So Link gets the Master Sword, the gang fights Sia, Sheik is Zelda by the way, and they get the Triforce back. Hooray! But uh-oh, it turns out that the last piece of Ganondorf's soul was actually sealed by the Master Sword, so now he's back and has Girahim and Zan to help him. Eventually they all have one big final battle with Ganondorf turning into Ganon and the heroes using the Triforce to seal him away. And that was Triforce Heroes in 60 seconds. Ready, go. So there's this kingdom called Hytopia, and all of the people love fashion, especially the princess, Styla. One day, the princess gets a nice gift, but uh-oh, Styla is cursed to wear an irremovable, ugly jumpsuit by the evil lady Maud. Yes, this is real. Princess Styla gets suppressed, so the king asks for heroes to assemble, promising a great reward. In reality, he's looking for 3 heroes of legend with pointy ears and 6 sideburns to form a totem and bless Hytopia with everlasting style and fashion. Okay, what the actual fuck? At the same time, the same Link from A Link Between Worlds sees the king's ad for heroes, so he joins up with other Links to go and fight the witch. They kill her, and fashion returns to the kingdom, I guess? Hooray? And that was, apparently, Breath of the Wild in 60 seconds. Ready? Go. Link is woken up by a disembodied voice that tells him to go and save the world, but uh-oh, Link has amnesia. He gets a new iPhone, goes outside, and meets an old man who tells him that 100 years ago, the kingdom of Hyrule fell to a giant pig and a bunch of robots that have instilled the fear of God and pianos on the land. Turns out the old man is actually the dead king, who tells Link that he was the princess's knight who basically died 100 years ago, and that all of his friends and loved ones are dead except for Zelda, who's been holding Calamity Ganon at bay. He gives Link the paraglider and tells him to go save Zelda before vanishing to be a deadbeat dad somewhere else. So Link visits Kakarika Village and meets Impa, who tells him to go free the divine beasts, these giant robots that his friends piloted before they were all brutally killed by Ganon's mini-Ganons. So Link visits each of the 4 races of Hyrule to assist them in taming their respective divine beasts, becoming friends with Heartthrob Fish, Cowardly Boulder, Desert Diva, and Bird Dilf. He goes into each divine beast and frees the spirits of their respective pilots, Lightning Legs, Fish Waifu, Rock Himbo, and the literal best character in the game. Along the way, Link recovers his memories, retrieves the Master Sword, and completes various Sheikah shrines in order to grow stronger. Eventually, Link storms Hyrule Castle, fights Calamity Ganon, shows down with the giant pig, and rescues Zelda, who seals Ganon away. Now that the kingdom's at peace, Link and Zelda head off to rebuild their broken kingdom. And that was Cadence of Hyrule in 60 seconds. Ready? Go. Hyrule is at peace until, an evil magician named Octavio uses his golden lute to put the king, Link, and Zelda to sleep. With the world being kinda screwed, the Triforce of Power summons a hero named Cadence from another world to help them. She's presented with an option to wake either Link or Zelda, and when she wakes one of them, she starts to look for a way home. With one of the heroes now awake, they begin to fight to the beat of the music around randomly generated land, looking for the dungeons holding Octavio's champions. After waking the hero that Cadence didn't and convincing Cadence to join the hunt, the trio defeats Octavio's champions, storm Hyrule Castle, and beat his ass. But it turns out those champions were actually going to be used against Ganon in the future, and now a portal's opened up to the future. Or something. The trio jumps through, navigates through a ridiculously hard dungeon, shows down with the pig, and save the day. Hooray! With the Triforce united, Link and Zelda use it to send Cadence back to her homeworld, and peace is restored to Hyrule. And that was Age of Calamity in 60 seconds. Ready? Go. Everyone is dead. So this little egg guy says, nah, and time hops back in time to fix it, creating a new timeline and accidentally dragging some Ganon gunk with him. Back in time, Link, Zelda, and a young Impa fight monsters, activate towers, and awaken
The egg.
Robbie and Porto scan him and learn he's from the future, so they gotta get the gang together. They all go champion collecting while this creepy dude named Aster teams up with the Yiga clan and a bad egg to make sure that Ganon does his thing. Link gets the Master Sword, Zelda trains, but Calamity strikes early. Egg timey-wimeys again and summons the champion descendants to help the champions until Link can arrive. They beat up the mini Ganons until Aster sacrifices the Yiga to power them up, which makes Koga go, that's fucked up, and switch sides. Zelda unlocks her powers, Rome redeems himself, and everyone storms Hyrule Castle. But the evil egg is this timeline's egg possessed by the Ganon gunk from earlier, now taking the form of Harbinger Ganon. He eats Aster and corrupts the good egg. Turns out egg is named Terrico, and Zelda built him with her mom, but Rome hid him away because he's a piece of shit. But Terrico goes full hero, sacrifices himself, and helps the squad slap Ganon into next week. The Calamity is stopped, the descendants go home, and if you get the secret ending, Terrico is rebuilt. Hooray! And that was Zelda the Wand of Gamelon in 60 seconds. Alright, I guess we're doing this. The king decides to go and help this guy named Duke Onkled on the island of Gamelon because of Ganon's attack. Zelda's worried for her father's safety, but Impa tells her that the Triforce of Wisdom showed her father returning safely. But the Triforce of Wisdom is a dirty liar because the king doesn't return after a month. So Zelda sends Link to find him, but Link doesn't return. So Zelda's like, never send a man to do a woman's job, and goes out herself. She uses a magic wand to brutally bludgeon everything that moves, and she learns that her father was captured by Ganon. She frees this lady named Alma who says she saw Link but doesn't know where he is. Eventually Zelda makes her way to Duke Onkled's castle and finds out that he's working for Ganon, and that only the Wand of Gamelon can defeat him. So she gets the wand, imprisons Ganon, saves her father, who punishes Duke Onkled to scrub all the floors in Hyrule. She also takes Alma's mirror and smashes it, which releases Link for some reason. And then Zelda and the king laugh like perfectly normal people. Oh god, there's still another CDI game after this. And that was Zelda's Adventure in 60 seconds. Alright, let's get this over with. So there's this land called Tolamac, which is just Camelot backwards, and Ganon's doing evil. He kidnaps Link and everything sucks. Years later, yes, years,
Bearer of sad news these many years ago.
this old fart in a tower decides to send Zelda to go and find the 7 celestial signs and kick Ganon's ass. So she goes out and bludgeons guys to death with a magic wand. She finds all the signs, and right as she's about to get the last one, it's Ganon! He's doing evil or whatever. So Zelda beats Ganon to death, save Links, and Tolamac enters a and I'm quoting the game directly here, Age of Lightness. What, you're expecting more? No, that's literally everything that happens. Nothing else happens in Tears of the Kingdom in 60 seconds. Ready? Go. A few years after Breath of the Wild, Link and Zelda go under Hyrule Castle, but uh-oh, there's an evil raisin. The Master Sword breaks, Link gets crippled, Zelda falls down a hole, and Hyrule starts to fall apart. Again. Link wakes up naked in a cave with a sick new arm and a broken Master Sword. He meets the cool Rauru, gets some cool powers, and sends the Master Sword to Zelda through the power of plot before she tells him to find her. So Link explores the sky, surface, and depth looking for Zelda, while also recruiting his old friends to become the new sages. Eventually, he finds out that Zelda's now a dragon. How did that happen? It turns out that Zelda went back in time and learned that the raisin was once hydrated, killed a queen, and went full-on Demon King. Rauru sacrificed himself to seal Ganondorf, Zelda ate a fruit gummy, and became a dragon to restore the broken Master Sword that Link had sent back in time. So now that his girlfriend's an immortal dragon, Link gathers the sages to go under Hyrule Castle and fight the King of Suavemente. Link wins the dance-off, but uh-oh, Ganon eats a fruit gummy and turns into a dragon. So Link rides Dragon Zelda, shoves the sword in the dragon's skull, invents the nuke, Zelda gets de-dragonized, and everyone's happy now. Hooray! And that was Echoes of Wisdom in 60 seconds. Ready? Go. Zelda's trapped in a crystal, so Link defeats Ganon and saves her. Hooray! Oh, wait a second. So Link's gone, Zelda runs from the scary rift, and she makes it back home. But uh-oh, a new rift opens up in the castle, swallows her father, and replaces him with the clone who sentences Zelda to death. While in prison, Zelda meets a fairy named Tri who gives her the Wand of Gamma, Tri-Rod, which gives her the ability to make echoes of objects. She breaks out of prison and goes around sealing the rifts, often running into an evil clone of Link. She gets to Hyrule Castle, finds Ganon, and kicks his ass, but it turns out Ganon's not the villain, and Link has been captured. After freeing her father, Zelda goes to the Shrines of the Goddesses, where she learns about a being named Null who lives in the void. Turns out the reason the universe was created was to keep Null in prison, so it's been making rifts to destroy the world. Null makes an echo of Zelda and attempts to get the prime energy from the Triforce, but Zelda, Link, and Tri manage to destroy it completely. Now that Hyrule's saved, Tri says goodbye to Zelda as he and his friends return to the Goddesses. And that was, what's the best Zelda game to start with? With a series as big and long-running as Zelda, it can sometimes be intimidating for new players, as they aren't sure where to begin. Fortunately though, you've got me to help you figure out which game to play first. A Link Between Worlds is a great starting point if you want a 2D game. The story's good, the soundtrack's great, and the gimmick of merging into walls leads to some pretty cool puzzles. The downside is that the game is still trapped on the 3DS and isn't exactly accessible. The Wind Waker is also a great choice, being a fan favorite for its unique art style, engaging story, and relatively chill gameplay, as it's one of the easier games in the series. It's also fairly accessible, being playable on the GameCube and the Switch 2 through an NSO subscription. While there is a fantastic HD remaster that adds some quality of life changes and streamlines a certain part of the story, you'd have to be one of the 5 people who bought a Wii U. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Breath of the Wild, the most popular game in the series to date. While it differs greatly from other games in the series due to its lack of traditional progression and a story that leaves a bit to be desired, the game more than makes up for it, in my opinion, through the memorable characters, fluid combat system, and the freedom given to you the moment you finish the Great Plateau. It's also the most accessible, being playable on the Wii U, Switch, and Switch 2. Of course, accessibility for any of these games doesn't matter too much if you don't mind.
Do what you want, cause a pirate is free.
Did Rivali have a crush on Zelda? With the release of Zelda Notes, we were given plenty of new lore about Hyrule's most arrogant avian, with some people coming to the conclusion that Rivali had a doomed crush on Zelda. 2 voice memories in particular could be used as evidence. In Secret Rito Spring, Zelda states that Rivali took her to Gotham's secret hot spring to relax, as he believed that she was overworking herself. This is different from the Rivali that players have come to know, as he seems to genuinely care about Zelda's health and well-being. Then, in honoring Rivali, Zelda notes how Rivali was always quickest to rush to her side when she struggled, and she comes to the conclusion that he was only so hard on Link to make sure that he was capable of protecting her. If Rivali did indeed have a crush on Zelda, then this puts his rivalry with Link into a new perspective. He may have believed that Link was unfit to be a protector, and that he should have been the one by her side, hence why he was so hostile to the hero. While it is an interesting theory, I'm not sure I'm entirely convinced, as I feel like there should be more evidence. And if you were curious about what else Zelda Notes revealed about Rivali, then you should check out the full video I did linked to this short. Maybe then you'll see why so many people are asking. The Master Sword's power makes no sense. Across the games it appears in, the Master Sword is usually framed as the only weapon capable of defeating the big bad, typically Ganon. However, this isn't always true, as in the original game and A Link to the Past, the Silver Arrow was the only item that could truly defeat Ganon. Its role has since been shifted to the Light Arrow, which are required in most games to make Ganon vulnerable. In fact, the Master Sword's power seems to be inconsistent throughout its appearances. Sometimes it can deal the final blow, other times it can't. At first, I thought this was developer oversight until fellow Zelda tuber Hey Listen Gaming pointed something out. In Skyward Sword, Wind Waker, and Tears of the Kingdom, the sword is empowered during the story, bringing it to full strength. These are also the only games where the Master Sword delivers the final blow. But when it's been left dormant for ages, like in Ocarina of Time and A Link to the Past, it seems to lose that edge, making it unable to deliver the final blow. This may mean that the Master Sword needs to be recharged every so often to keep its powers. So now you know why the Master Sword didn't kill Ganondorf, Zant did. In my last short about the Master Sword, I got a lot of comments telling me that I forgot about Twilight Princess, where Ganondorf is seemingly killed by the Master Sword. However, I don't think this is the case. In this moment, Ganondorf is calling on the Triforce of Power to revive him like it did during his execution. If the Master Sword truly killed him, then that would mean that it has the power to negate the Triforce, which seems highly unlikely. It makes more sense to say that at this moment, Ganondorf is calling on the last of his power. But the thing is, he doesn't have that power. Zant does. Ganondorf stored some of his power within Zant, who very well might have retained it after his own death. It makes more thematic sense to say that Zant, having seen his god for what he truly is, rejects Ganondorf's cry for power, killing him. Of course, this is just a theory, one originally posed by Bandit Games, but I truly think that, why does Ganondorf turn to stone? At the end of Wind Waker, when Link deals the finishing blow with the Master Sword, Ganondorf gets turned into stone. This is the only time something like this happens in the series, so what gives? Out of universe, this was likely a stylistic choice used to convey Ganondorf's demise. The Master Sword being shoved through his skull was already pretty brutal for a cartoony game like Wind Waker, but having Ganondorf slump over and bleed out would be way too much. An in-universe explanation, however, might be that the Master Sword is sealing Ganondorf's power. We see something like this with Demise at the end of Skyward Sword, where after he's defeated, his essence is absorbed into the Master Sword to be eradicated. It could be that the same thing happened with Ganondorf, but since he wasn't a demon like Demise, his body was simply turned into stone instead of fading away completely. Is it a perfect theory? Well, no, but at least it might explain. I might know who this mystery Rito is. So the other day, Nintendo dropped another trailer for Age of Imprisonment, where for a brief moment we were shown the Rito Sage performing a sync strike with a brand new Rito character. When I did my initial analysis of the trailer a few days ago, I said that I didn't have a whole lot to say about them. But now, I might have a crazy theory. When comparing this Rito to all the other ones who appear across both Wild Era games, this Rito has a unique feature: their eyebrows. Most Rito's eyebrows, for lack of a better name, are a color that blends in naturally with the rest of their feathers. But from what we can see, this new Rito has yellow eyebrows, a trait that's only found in one other Rito, Revali. My insane theory is that this Rito is the distant ancestor of Revali, fighting alongside the Sage of Wind during the Imprisoning War. I know that I sound like I'm off my meds right now, but in the unfathomably small chance that I'm right, all of you watching have to subscribe. And you better believe that I'm gonna be doing victory laps, because a month before the game is even out, Age of Imprisonment can fix Ganondorf. Looking back at Tears of the Kingdom, one of the biggest complaints that fans had was how underutilized Ganondorf was in the story. In addition, many fans also complained about how Ganondorf's motives felt unclear, as if he were just evil for the sake of being evil. That being said, all of this has the chance to change. With Age of Imprisonment coming out in little over a month, Nintendo has the opportunity to fix these mistakes. Since the game takes place during the Imprisoning War, we are almost guaranteed to see Ganondorf's rise to power firsthand. This gives Nintendo the chance to give Ganondorf more screen time, possibly even allowing us to better understand his motives as to why he desires the power of the Secret Stones other than to just destroy Hyrule. Age of Imprisonment could also take a page out of the original Hyrule Warriors book and have story missions where we play as Ganondorf, allowing us to see certain events from his perspective. Now, admittedly, that last part is just speculation, but overall, I'm really confident that what's the difference between Ganondorf and Ganon? This is a question often asked by people with passing knowledge of the Zelda series. In some games, Ganon is the main villain, but in others, it's the guy from Smash Bros. So, what gives? Well, they're actually the same. Kinda. Ganondorf is Ganon's base form, for lack of a better word. While incredibly powerful in his own right, he can use the Triforce of Power to transform himself into Ganon. He can usually only do this for a limited time, however, so he typically uses this as a last resort, like we see in Ocarina of Time. However, if Link loses in Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf uses the full Triforce to permanently remain as Ganon. This is why we only ever see Ganon in the Downfall Timeline games, such as A Link to the Past, Echoes of Wisdom, and the original game, just to name a few. So to put it simply, Ganon is just Ganondorf's persona. So now you don't have to ask, are all Links the same hero? In The Legend of Zelda, you most often play as Link, the hero of Hyrule. This makes many newcomers think that you play as the same character across every game. However, this isn't true, as each Link is technically an entirely different person. So what gives? Well, it all goes back to Skyward Sword. After the hero of the skies beats the Demon King Demise, Demise uses his final breath to curse those with the spirit of the hero and the blood of the goddess to forever face a reincarnation of his hatred. This means that whenever evil rises, there will always be a Link and a Zelda to challenge it. As of this short, we've actually seen 13 different Links do so. Still, not every game has a new Link, as some are called into action once more, with the Hero of Legend in particular being the star of 4 games. As for why they all look similar, I guess the spirit of the hero just like 6 sideburns. So now you don't have to wonder, are all Ganondorfs the same? In my last short, I talked about how there were many different Links in Zeldas, so you might assume that this applies to Ganondorf too, right? Well, yes, but also no. Across a majority of the titles, there is only ever one Ganondorf and one Ganon. The Ganondorfs we see in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are both the same Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. Meanwhile, in the Downfall timeline, Ganondorf becomes Ganon and he's routinely defeated and resurrected on multiple occasions. So yes, the Ganon you see in the original game is technically the same as Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time, but completely mindless. However, there are 2 instances of a completely new Ganondorf. The first appears in Four Swords Adventures, which chronologically takes place after Twilight Princess. He makes no sense. Why is he here? The second appears in Tears of the Kingdom, and while I would complain about him making no sense, he gets a pass so my spine stays intact. So now you don't have to ask. Revali's fight was unfair. In Breath of the Wild, we learned that the 4 champions, Daruk, Mipha, Urbosa, and Revali, all fell to creations of Calamity Ganon specifically designed to outmatch them. However, the game provides evidence that Revali's fight against Windblight was ridiculously unfair thanks to 2 factors out of his control. First, Revali was forced to fight Windblight Ganon at night. According to in-game dialogue, Rito have terrible night vision, meaning Revali literally couldn't see his opponent. This means that his fight literally looked something like this. Second, we know from the memory Despair that it also began to rain. If Rito are like real-world birds, then Revali's feathers would be water-resistant, but not waterproof. This means that while he could fly in the rain, it only got harder the longer his fight went on. So this means that when Revali said he lost because he was winging it, he meant that literally. Had those 2 factors been different, then Revali could have won against Windblight Ganon. But instead, Ganondorf is a total theater kid. I know, wild sentence to start a short off with, but I can't be the only one who sees this, right? This man lives for his dramatic appearances. While you're running around his castle in Ocarina of Time, there's this dramatic ambient dungeon theme with an organ playing. But when you reach the top, Ganondorf is playing the organ. He was playing the music for his own dungeon. In Twilight Princess, you finally reach the throne room, and he is just sitting there, sword in his lap, head on his fist, waiting for you, while thunder crashes in the background. And when Link finally defeats him, he doesn't die on the ground. No. This man dies standing up with a sword lodged in his chest. And if that wasn't enough, in Tears of the Kingdom, when you finally defeat him, he just casually goes,
I didn't hear no bell.
and gives himself a complete makeover, and you're just forced to sit there slack-jawed as his health bar just keeps going. If he wasn't the Demon King, I guarantee you he would have gotten into Juilliard because auto-build is an inferior Zonai ability, lore-wise. So I was discussing some ideas for shorts with Hey Listen Gaming, and they told me something about auto-build that I never knew. In Tears of the Kingdom, there are 4 Zonai abilities for Link to obtain: Ultra Hand, Fuse, Ascend, and Auto Build. Of these 4 abilities, 3 of them are given to you by Rauru, while Auto Build is given to you by a construct in the depths. But why? Well, Masterworks actually explains this. While we know that members of the Zonai were all skilled magic users, Masterworks notes that these abilities weren't possessed equally. This means that some Zonai may have been born with the ability to use Ultra Hand, while others could use Fuse. Ascend was likely possessed by everyone, but that's a topic for another day. Auto Build, meanwhile, is the opposite. It could be learned by any Zonai, regardless of their magical abilities. This isn't even touching on everything, but Hey Listen is planning on making a video about this, so go subscribe to them so you can see it as soon as it comes out. So while it may be useful, at least to the Zonai, which is stronger, light arrows or ancient arrows? So I was planning on doing a short about the strongest Zelda item, but as I was writing the script, I hit a roadblock. I don't know which of these is stronger. For some context, both the light arrows from the Wind Waker and the ancient arrows from Breath of the Wild are absurdly powerful, capable of one-shotting any regular enemy. On one hand, It seems like this should be an easy win for the light arrows, as they possess pure, sacred light able to destroy evil. But on the other hand, I think this might also be their drawback. Now, I'm probably wrong about this, but if light arrows are designed specifically for beating evil, wouldn't that mean that they wouldn't work on somebody who isn't evil? Because if that's the case, then I'd argue in favor of ancient arrows, since I can just use them on whoever I want. But what do you think? Head down to the comments below and debate with each other over they are terrifying. One of the creepiest parts of Majora's Mask is the Romani Ranch side quest, where Link is tasked with defending the ranch's cows from these creatures, most often referred to as they or them. While many official sources call them ghosts, it seems far more accurate to call them aliens. They emerge from a giant floating ball of light, and if they reach the barn, the light uses a tractor beam to abduct the cows and Romani. Their design also closely matches depictions of the Flatwoods Monster, a real-world cryptid from West Virginia that many people believe was actually an alien. While the rest of Majora's Mask is filled with creepy and disturbing moments, nothing else resembles the unease exuded during this side quest. The wailing music, the pressure that's placed on you, and the unending horde of these things rushing towards the barn. All of them work together to create something that feels genuinely out of place for a Zelda game. While this may not sound as creepy as I'm making it out to be, the people who played this game as kids will probably agree with me that Age of Imprisonment in 60 seconds. Ready? Go. Spoilers ahead. Zelda wakes up in the past and meets Rauru and Sonia. She starts training with them to master her powers when, murder! Now that Ganondorf and his archfiends are in control, Rauru and Zelda get some allies to help them fight, like Stoned Boulder, Narwhal, Gothic Gerudo, and Claude Von Regan. They also meet a traveling Korok named Calamo and a construct that Rauru's pretty hesitant about, because it turns out that these constructs are the reason there's only 2 Zonai left. But Zelda soon realizes that when she was sent back in time, a shard of the Master Sword came with her, and that's what's powering the construct, so he's good. But there's another construct that's possessed by Ganondorf, so that's a problem. Now that the gang's all here, the sages and Rauru go to fight Ganondorf while Calamo and the construct hold off the monsters, including the evil construct. Rauru and the construct sacrifice themselves to win their respective battles, and to honor his blood sacrifice, Calamo puts down roots in the Great Hyrule Forest, becoming who we know today as the Great Deku Tree. And that was, does Hyrule celebrate Christmas? With the holiday season now upon us, I've been thinking about what holidays they might celebrate in Hyrule, so I did some digging and I think I might have an answer. In Oracle of Seasons, Santa is directly mentioned by a woman who mistakes Link for him after he jumps down her chimney. So if Santa is mentioned, then Christmas must exist, right? Well, yes, but technically no. Christmas existing in Hyrule and other neighboring lands would open a can of theological worms that I don't have the time to explain. Also, I'm too lazy to delve into that right now. What I think is more likely is that Hyrule has its own holiday that's virtually similar to Christmas in everything but name. If I had to guess, the holiday would be related to the Golden Goddesses or Hylia, with Santa delivering presents the night before. But that begs the question, how do the races of Hyrule celebrate? Let me know what you think they do down in the comments below now that you know. What's up with the magic sword? In the original Legend of Zelda, Link could obtain the magic sword from the old man in the graveyard after obtaining 12 hearts. But think about that for a second. Why is it here? Who did it belong to? And how come it only appears in the first 2 Zelda games? Well, I might have a theory. What if the magic sword is supposed to be a recreation of the Master Sword? From a lore perspective, the Master Sword was seemingly lost to history between its appearance in A Link Between Worlds and the original game. And with Ganon returning to wreak havoc, a weapon would need to be made to stop him. So what if somebody tried to recreate the Master Sword for a hero to use against Ganon? It wouldn't be able to deal the killing blow since it lacks the Master Sword's sacred power, but it would still be a powerful enough weapon to at least stun the Demon King. Maybe that's why it's hidden. The old man is keeping it away from Ganon and his minions. Or maybe I'm completely overthinking it. Either way, now you know.
And yeah, that was every single short that we did this year. Honestly, we did a lot more than I thought we did. 40 total minutes is actually a lot. And this is technically the longest video I uploaded this year besides the Blythe video and the Rivali video. So, yeah. I'm sorry that I couldn't get anything else big whipped up for the end of 2025 and what was the channel's best year. I feel bad that I couldn't do any big videos, but at the same time, I'm kinda glad that I'm not rushing anything. So far, I've got a decent bit planned in store for 2026. I'm still jotting down some shorts ideas, and if you guys have any ideas whatsoever, please leave them in the comments below. Leave them in the comments of other shorts, please. Seriously, I'm begging you. I have no ideas. I am stupid. There is nothing going on in this brain. Give me ideas for content. But other than shorts, the 2 big videos that I'm planning are obviously the promised Rito timeline, which is going somewhat well. I'm still working on scripting things. That one's definitely going to be a bit longer. I want it to be really nice, and I'm just trying to make sure everything looks good, if that makes sense. The other one is going to be the 3D dungeon ranking, which is actually going pretty well. As of the recording of this line, I've finished ranking every single dungeon from Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and I've gotten started on Skyward Sword. I just finished ranking the Lanayru mining facility, so we're almost done. After that, I need to record my lines and stuff, and hopefully I'll be able to do it soon where I'm not sick and sounding like this. So yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for a fantastic year. I'm looking forward to what 2026 brings us, and yeah, I hope you guys will stick around, share me around with your friends, and I'll see you next year. See ya!